The Trae Young trade will be mutually beneficial for both sides. Welcome back to the Eye Test. I'm your host, Drew Rogers, here on the Chat It Up Sports YouTube channel. Hope everybody's having a good day out there. Subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on all platforms, Instagram, TikTok, all that. But the news came out a couple days ago that the Atlanta Hawks, Trae Young, and his representatives were working on a deal. Normally, when you see that they're working on a deal, it means, hey, we don't hate each other yet, but we're definitely headed that way. They didn't give him the extension this summer. I know that's been said a million times. And then today, date of recording should be date of posting. The Atlanta Hawks come out with some news that Trae Young actually does want to go to the Wizards, which has been a team that I think a lot of people had circled. A lot of people, when they heard the Wizards were interested, may have been like, huh, that's interesting. And it is interesting. So Trae Young prefers to go to the Wizards. And when I said in the intro that the Trae Young trade will be mutually beneficial for both sides, what do I mean by that? Well, let me show you. Okay, so I've been on the NBA trade machine today, and I've been workshopping a little bit of this. Obviously, I don't know what the exact trade is going to be, but this is what I basically think is fair for both sides. CJ McCollum makes $30 million a year. Corey Kispert makes 14. Trae Young makes 46.5. So the Wizards, I believe, have to take back at least $37 million in salary, or the Hawks have to take $37 million in salary to make the apron rules and all that work up front. So I think CJ is kind of the token one because, I mean, I don't think the Hawks are going to take Chris Middleton. I don't think anybody's going to take Chris Middleton. So I think CJ is kind of the guy that has to be included in this trade. And then, obviously, to make the money work, I'm looking at a guy like Corey Kispert. So why am I trading Kispert if I'm the Wizards? Well, they just haven't really done anything with Corey Kispert. And Kispert is one of my favorite players in the league. He shoots over 40% from three every year. Every year when the Wizards are in full tank mode, he's in the game. He's averaging damn near 20 points a game. And I really do think that he's kind of like Denny Avdia, where for years the Wizards just kind of had this interesting asset. And he was kind of like 11, then he went to 15, 5 and 5. Like, it was an interesting asset, but nobody really knew exactly who he was. I had him every year in fantasy. He was an incredible like plug and play guy on a fantasy team. He would sit on the waiver wire sometimes in like a 10-team league, but I digress with that. This is not about Denny. I think Corey Kispert deserves to be on a winning team, and I think he would really help a winning team, especially a team like the Hawks, where I know they've got Luke Kennard. I think Corey Kispert is just an even better version of Luke Kennard, where Kennard doesn't really shoot that much. Kispert will let the pill go. He doesn't bring a ton on defense, but when you're getting rid of Trae Young, you're attempting to slide CJ McCollum into that spot, who in theory will be a better defender and probably more motivated on this Hawks team than he has been on the Wizards to give a shit on defense. I think this is the trade that actually makes sense for both sides. And when you're talking Trae Young, you think of one thing: offensive engine. He's one of the last great offensive engines left in the NBA, because we don't have a lot of guys like this left. Like, we have Steph, and we have, I mean, this is not a one-to-one example. We do have Giannis, but guys that are heliocentric to their team's success, where they are the sun, everybody else is the planets revolving around them. I think Trae Young would really flourish on the Wizards. Maybe not in the way that you would typically think a guy like him should, because there's a time at which Trae Young is a superstar. He's an absolute superstar. But that time has passed. He doesn't shoot well from three anymore. His turnovers have risen in the last couple of years. Of course, the defense is just not great. But now we get in a scenario where I think the reason Trae Young and his representatives want him to go to the Wizards is because it's a reset. It's effectively a reset. There's very low expectations. It's not like he'd go to LA and be expected to win a championship or compete for a playoff spot immediately. This is, in my opinion, best for both sides. And ultimately, I think this deal will end up getting done, or some variation of this deal. I don't know what it'll look like, but I think with the money, the way the money has to line up, I looked at a bunch of their contracts. I don't even think it makes sense to send them anybody else but McCollum and Kispert unless you involve a third team. So how does this affect both teams? Well, for the Atlanta Hawks, I think it's an instant upgrade to what they're currently trying to do right now. I think a storyline came out a couple weeks back about them wanting to trade Zachary Reese. I don't think so. And I honestly think getting CJ McCollum in, a guy that is a little bit more experienced, probably doesn't take as much off the table as Trae Young does sometimes. And I mean, I think the Hawks, the Grizzlies, and the Hornets have had a similar problem where they want their lead guard, the guy that they paid the rookie scale max extension to be a leader, and they just haven't been. I think McCollum kind of fills in all those holes. I mean, he's not the perfect fit. He's probably not the Atlanta Hawks' dream, but he is something, and he is an avenue out of this Trae Young situation, which they obviously want out of. And I think for the most part, Kispert will help them as well. I mean, the Wizards have just kind of wasted Corey Kispert's career so far. I mean, he's just a really additive player, in my opinion. I'm not sure what the advanced stats say on him. I'm not going to look. But when you watch Corey Kispert, when you look at him and you look through the eye test, Corey Kispert passes that eye test. And of course, I guess the big talking point, what will be the legacy of the Trae Young-led Atlanta Hawks team? Well, Trae Young obviously traded for Luka. Incredible that neither Luka nor Trae is on the team that drafted them after a landmark draft day trade. You obviously get the Luka trade last year, and now Trae Young is the final domino of that to fall, as today I am rocking the Cam Reddish Hawks jersey. Thought it was going to be amazing. I'll debate anybody. I'll talk to a wall about it. He just left his team in Lithuania. So there's your Cam Reddish overseas basketball update. But, I mean, the Atlanta Hawks during Trae Young's time were either bad or very average. In the 2022-2023 season, they were around that 500 number, and I think it was like the past 3 seasons they had been perfectly 500. And I actually have it pulled up right here. From 2020 to 2023, the Atlanta Hawks were a perfect 500 team, going 41-41 twice, and in the middle there they went 43-39. And so you've got, of course, the 2021 Eastern Conference Finals run. And Trae Young kind of ascends his status in that sense to where I think there were legitimate conversations at the time. Is Trae Young a top 20 player? And I think he was at that time. And I mean, outside of him and this team, and they were just kind of average, and they were always in the play-in with the Heat and the Bulls. And outside of that, I mean, Trae Young, there were some legitimate playoff series where the fact that he was such a weapon, the pure confidence that he played with, was such a problem for opposing teams. I remember I believe it was the 2020, I believe it was last season, it was 2023, 2024. The Atlanta Hawks took the Celtics to 6 games. They had no business doing it, and Trae Young hit a game winner to push the series to 6 games. So the legacy of the Trae Young Atlanta Hawks will be, honestly, probably that of probably a team that will be forgotten in a couple years. Probably a team that will have some great highlight reels, the Capella lobs, the Onyeka lobs. I personally have been to Atlanta a bunch of times to see this iteration of the team play. They are closest to me, living in Chattanooga, Tennessee. But I just don't think it can be lost that Trae Young was an exciting basketball player. He sold tickets. He was important to Atlanta. He's still important to Atlanta. I know that this season probably has gone just about as bad as the Hawks and Hawks fans could have imagined. But Trae Young will definitely leave a legacy, an impact in Atlanta as far as I'm concerned. If you enjoyed, hit the subscribe button for me. This is going to be a YouTube exclusive episode just because I'd use some visual aids and stuff like that. The NBA is ramping up. The NFL is winding down. We're about to hit my favorite time of the year, where it is the standalone NBA product, and we ramp up towards the playoffs. The rookies have truly come into their own this year. I plan to make an all-star ballot episode coming up soon. Got some other things in the works. I want to talk with the other guys on this channel, Chat Up Sports YouTube channel. So like I said, subscribe, like, it's free, helps us out. Peace.